when I was writing the theme song of my show that's getting ready to come out, I thought about, what is your dad, right? Like for me, my dad is honestly a support system. And if you don't have the dad, then maybe there can be somebody else in your life who doesn't judge you, who sees you in your best light, who believes in you. Like that's what my dad is for me. That can be another person, but if you don't have that other person.
Pleasure and an honor to talk with you today and talk about a really important topic that I believe can help many of people. And you interviewed so much people. You have probably so much that you could say about that topic of the relationships. But like a second before that, I want to understand, like, from where did you get that name for your podcast, like Better Call Daddy?
Yeah, so my dad is honestly like my biggest support system. He's always who I call. I just called him about 5 minutes ago before we even got on this because two of our previous guests texted me about their episodes. One said a question that he had asked my dad was around, what was his question exactly? It was something about trust and forgiveness. How do you
Okay.
trust people that have deceived you?
Oh, wow.
That's a really
That's
interesting
a tough one.
and tough question. And he liked my dad's response to it. And so I just screenshotted that and sent it to my dad. And he wanted to even elaborate on what he wrote. So I love that people are getting excited to have a conversation with me, but they're even getting excited to hear what my dad is going to say to what they ask at the end. And that has really turned into something so beautiful. The other guy was like, "Hey, thanks for editing it and not making me look like a schmuck." And I was like, well, making you look like a schmuck would be pretty impossible because you're almost like a Mensa
Wow.
SATs, but he got into some trouble with drugs and he overcame addiction and he really found his friends and his community in the wrong community. And he was worried that my dad was going to judge him for that. I was like, there is honestly not much that I can't talk to my dad about. I pretty much can have a conversation with my dad about almost anything, but he thanked me
For sure.
for, you know, what my dad said and that my dad wasn't judgmental. And I wanted my dad to see that as well. And that was pretty cool. So I texted my dad
Wow.
two thank yous from guests this morning on how they reacted to his reaction.
It's amazing that relationship that you have with your dad. You also I think you wrote someplace he's like your guiding star in different fields or in general in life. And I think that first it's amazing, and secondly, I think that the whole topic of relationships, it starts with us, then moves to our to our close people around us, and then outside to the world. Now, having like such a close relationship with your dad, is that something that was like, were you born with that? Or was that something that you through the years made stronger? Because I really believe that before going and connecting those strong relationships outside, which are really important, for sure, 100%, having, someone in the family, at least one, of course, better if more, that you could have a strong relationship, especially if it's one of your parents, is amazing. So is that something that you were just, you were born like that, and from there just got stronger? It's like, are there certain things that you did in order to create that type of relationship?
That's a great question. It honestly makes me think of the Maybelline commercial. Were you born with it? Maybe it's Maybelline. Um, but I would say that I saw my dad's relationship with his parents. He was very close with his parents. He worked alongside his parents for his entire career. They ran a manufacturing company together. Not only did they work together, but my dad would come home and then he would talk to his parents after work and vent to them, and the conversation was well into the evening hours. I mean, his parents were his guiding light, and he's now
Wow.
taking care of his mother. He took care of his father. That is such, I believe, an honorable way to be. I feel like our generation has lost that somewhat. It's
Yeah.
interesting because on my dad's side of the family, they're very old school. They will not send you to a nursing home. They're like, my dad, very much managed his parents' care. My grandparents managed the care of their parents. They brought them into their own home. I saw that. My parents had me young, so I've known all of my grandparents, most of my great grandparents. I feel very lucky in that way. I feel like that has shaped me. That is very much who I am. Honestly,
Wow.
that made me want to continue with traditions that we have. We didn't even like grow up religious, but as a family, it was important for me to continue that on.
Wow. It sounds like that's something that has, I don't know if it's only for you or for the rest of the family, but has a really huge impact on the rest of the life. So I'm trying to understand, like from your story, it sounds like your dad also got it from his growing up. But
Definitely.
are there maybe, I guess, tools or all kind of things that you could bring up, whether it's from your relationship with your dad or all the people that you interview, that can help people? Like, some people don't have yet that relationship with their dad, and they want to create it. So I'm sure someone is listening right now and saying, for you it's easy because your dad grew up with that and whatever. But for me, it's more challenging. It's more harder. I probably can't do that. So from all the, you got so many people, amazing people that you interviewed, and of course also your relationship with your dad. Are there like certain tools that you could, recommend to people that they can use them and to start to build that relationship?
Yeah, that's a great question. To be honest, when I was writing the theme song of my show that's getting ready to come out, I thought about, what is your dad, right? Like for me, my dad is honestly a support system. And if you don't have the dad, then maybe there can be somebody else in your life who doesn't judge you, who sees you in your best light, who believes in you. Like that's what my dad is for me. That can be another person, but if you don't have that other person, you know who that person is? It's you. You have to be. You have to be the dad. You have to be the father in heaven. You have to be the support system. So I'm very lucky that, and honestly, I need it, but you can be that person for yourself. And when my dad can't handle my shit, I start working on myself. Right?
Amazing.
Like sometimes I'm too much for my dad. Most of
All
the
of us.
time he can handle me. But when he can't, then I have to look inward, whether
Mm.
that's through meditation, whether that's through God, whether that's through exercise, whether that's through taking a small habit and trying to take little steps on improving myself. So better call daddy can honestly better call yourself, better check yourself, better improve
Wow.
yourself.
Love it. Love it. I love how you just now took it from a place that, a lot of times we'll have this inner voice that says, she's doing well, she's doing fine with her dad, whatever. And then like that way we could be like a victim and then like we can't do it. So what you just now said is so amazing because what you're saying is basically your dad is in a certain frame of support. So in that frame, each person you could put it whatever, like whoever you want. And if you still have this excuse, which I believe everyone has someone, it could even be someone that they met at the street, whatever. But if they have no one else, they could put themselves, and not only that, they could put themselves in that place of support. I believe personally, first put yourself in that place of support. Be there for yourself. Build that relationship with yourself, and then yes, of course, you could bring another person inside because, like you said, you could do so many things that can help you create that relationship. Whether it could be breathing meditation, sports, nutrition, sleep, so many things. And I think only when a person connects actually to themselves, only then someone else can come in and jump into that frame. In your case, it's your dad, which I think is really beautiful. And I want to understand something that sometimes family, not sometimes, each family has its own story, and it's usually a pretty interesting story. I'll say it that way. And I'm sure you learned a lot from your dad and still learning. But is there anything specific that you learned actually from working, or I'll say playing together, enjoying, having fun, and doing this podcast? Like something that you didn't learn from before, something that is new for you?
That's a great question. It's funny. I'm going to say a quick hello to Sammy. She's awesome. She's
For sure.
also a daddy's girl and has and she creates content with her dad, which is I think so awesome.
That's amazing. I love it.
You know,
I
it's
love
interesting in putting together content with your dad because my dad is a ham and he likes to be in front of the camera. But to be on camera, you have to be able to speak in sound bites. My dad, like all growing up, is like, you know, if we walked past a birthday party that was happening in the mall and they were singing happy birthday, my dad is the guy that would literally go jump into song with strangers. It would be completely embarrassing
it.
and mortifying. But now I kind of
I love that.
appreciate that. Like he beats to his own drum. He really doesn't care what people think. I've definitely learned that from him. But if you want to put on a show, you have to leave room for the other person. Like my dad literally could do solo episodes where he just talks to himself. And what I have learned through this process of putting on a show with my dad is I've helped him actually say things better and say things more
Wow.
succinctly. And where he does bring an intergenerational perspective, which I think is cool, I've also had to teach him how to say it in a way that's going to hit.
Hmm. Nice.
And
So,
also to not go on, to leave room for the other person. So there's back and forth. Like I do feel like my dad has grown in the process of putting together a show with me where he's understanding how to communicate better.
that's amazing. And that's something that came through the show, right?
Yeah.
I love that. You know, when you said that your dad, kind of embarrassed when you were little, you reminded me. My dad and I sometimes used to go to restaurants when we were little, and then he's like, "Okay, yeah, here, let's do push-up contests." Like in the middle of the restaurant, okay, let's go down for push-ups. Like, come on, Dad, are you serious? Like, it's so embarrassing. And he's like, "Okay, just start." So I totally feel like exactly what you're saying. I feel you 100%. But I think it's those moments that stay with us. And I want just to cycle back for a second to a different point that you mentioned. Also regarding the relationship you have now with your dad, but also in the past, you said that there's the no judgment. I guess no judgment element that was there, and I'm assuming does that is that also now an element that also needs to be from your place? Because now you're saying you're working now with him and like telling him when to stop, when to start. Like, is the judgment part is that a part that is in there now from your side?
Oh, that's such a great question. I actually listened to a podcast last night about judgment
Hmm,
where the podcast host said if you judge others, it's something that you yourself need to work on.
for sure, 100%, 100%. That's so true.
Right? Like I should just totally let my dad be himself and if I want to make it shorter afterwards, just edit it, right? Just let him flow. But maybe some of my judgment is from my own perfectionism.
Hmm, interesting point.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I
wow.
edited myself a lot more in the beginning. Like if I'd record an intro 10 times. And the thing is, I was
Wow.
even talking to Rosie Young last night, who I just interviewed, another podcaster, and she was like, people love on the fly. People love no makeup. People love the background noise and you picking up the kids in the carpool line and participating in a LinkedIn or a Twitter audio space. Like a bit of realness is so much more compelling than perfectly branded content. And sometimes these platforms like Instagram and TikTok, they want you to record natively into their platform, like what we're doing right now with no preparation. Like they push that more than when you put something up that you have the perfect thumbnail for.
For sure. And I think not only they push it more, I think could actually also resonate more with the audience because also in content and also in relationship, if we try to be someone that we're not, other people will get it, and whether it could be something that we edit it for the podcast or a conversation we want to do with someone that is important for us, that we're not really putting everything out there. So when we're less authentic, I think, I'll say the connection is not that strong, if at all. So I really like what you said over there in terms of, that authenticity. I think it's amazing. And that comes back actually to the judgment that sometimes, it's hard for people, and I'm in the people. It's hard not to, because people want to create or want to do other things and they see someone else doing it, so they'll always look for that face of judgment. And I think what I'm understanding from you and from your relationship with your dad, when you grew up and also now the way you're working together, it sounds like there's space, even if things come out, there's space for you to do you and him to do him. Correct me if I'm wrong. Again, you might, say this, say that, and that's part of life. No judgment doesn't mean be quiet, don't say anything. We could get feedback. It's two total different things. We could say our opinion. Not we should, but in a format of feedback and no judgment. So thank you very much for that emphasis. And I want to understand another, I don't know if I'll say another question, but I want to understand another point from some of the interviews that I saw that you did with other people. In general, in relationships, so until now we say that there needs to be that, that support system first. We're there for ourselves, no judgment, because if there'll be judgment, there won't be any support, whether it's us or other people. But number two, is there anything else that you could say that, okay, I'm here for myself, or someone's here also for me, both of us are here together, no judgment? Is there another element that could be there to strengthen the relationship?
Oh, that's a tough one. Oh. I mean, we all have relationships that we're working on, right? Sure. I think in order to grow, that we need to talk to people that we're afraid to talk to, people who have opposing views, people who could be seen as competitors. I also talked about this recently with someone. I feel like I have actually reached out to people who could be seen as a competitor in my business, people who do the same things as me, to see if we could collaborate in some kind of way, or if they could be a referral partner, or if maybe they could use some of the skills I have that would complement what they're doing.
Wow. I think that's so important. You said competitor, but competitor doesn't have to, it could be, like you just now said, it could be someone we could learn from them so much they can learn from us. And from a competitor should be a partner, in yes. some way or another. But yes, it's wow. That's such a great point you just now brought here. I really appreciate that.
Sammy Joe and Angela are both love that community over competition. They also mentioned that they struggle with perfectionism. I can't tell you how many times after I record a segment with someone that they message me back and say to me, did I do all right? Did I sound all right? Even, this guy, he said, thank you for making me not look like a schmuck. We are so worried about what we sound like, what we look like, what we're putting out there. Social media is so short-lived. Literally, your nerves and your caring, no one cares as much as you do. They're on to the next so quickly. You're lucky if they listen to 12 seconds of what you're even saying.
Oh, for sure.
So, you worrying, for me, I look at it like what we're doing right now is relationship building. I hope it's creating value. I hope it's, relationship building and all of that, but it's a start. It's working on getting your message out there, solidifying your message, crystallizing your message. It's finding your tribe. It's getting you thinking. There's so many side benefits to doing this.
For sure.
Don't worry about what you sound like. You're going to get better at what you sound like and what you look like by just testing different things. Have fun with it. I'm having fun right now.
So am I, and I listen. It's so cool that we could talk in we're such a huge distance away from each other. I love it. We're taking it now for granted, but it wasn't here a few years ago. So I think that for itself is amazing. I'm probably actually pretty close to your sister, probably like 15 minutes away now. Yeah, I'll shout, I'll shout out. She might hear me. But I really want to take it back to the point that you said about, don't care too much about what other people are saying, or, don't try being perfect. There's a song of John Legend, love all the perfect imperfections. So being unperfect, being who we are, that's the perfect. The perfect is that we are aware of that, and then we work on it. And there's no destination that is called perfect. The perfect are all the imperfections that we are aware of them, and then we do our best, and that's it, and no more than that. Now, when we live a life that someone else thinks we should live, or what we think someone else thinks we should live, we're basically not living life. First, because we have no clue what someone else is thinking we should live. Second, also, if he thinks, like you said, it passes in a second, like they keep on in life. So living in that way, we're basically missing out life, because we're living in a way that we think someone else think we should live, and we're just not here. So I love what you said and really connect. I think that, first myself, always talking, I also always need to take, a step forward, and also other people in terms of taking those 2 points of just being you, being authentic, being the best you can be, and learn. You said, just a minute ago, you said testing, right? We're here, we're testing, we're living life, and we're coming to enjoy. You said enjoying, like we woke up in the morning, amazing, perfect. Now let's start testing this, like test out of a state of mind of joy, and of happiness. We had the privilege to wake up, and then create that, like you said, to start the day with a creating relationship with ourselves, and then with the people around us. And I think those are really beautiful words. If people just take the part of no judgment and authenticity, just start there, and I really appreciate those 2 points. It could be so important. And I just, a second before, I want to say one more thing about the no judgment. I used to judge myself a lot, and I think feedback is amazing, but we could say the same thing. We could say it from a place of feedback, and then, okay, we did our best, now let's try being better. Like we played the game, we tested, or we could, self-criticize, and then it takes us back. So I really appreciate bringing those 2 points. So I think that's really important. And I have now another question that basically the point, like I won't say the point, I have a YouTube channel, Invest and Smile, and the purpose of the channel over there is to help people overcome their challenges and light their path. Now, I really believe relationship is the core in there. Well, first mindset, and then the relationship. And from your life experience, again, with your dad, now I want to focus on that. You had amazing people that you interviewed. Is there something that, it's a question I'm not sure really to where it's going to lead us, but do you think, is there something that your dad learned about you that can basically, something that he didn't see before? Because he raised you, he basically brought you up, and now you're creating this new relationship through the work. So do you think there are new things that he hopes you realize that are lighting now your path?
It's funny. A lot of people want to know, was I hard to raise? Were there years that we didn't talk? What kind of trouble did I get into? A lot of people have asked that. And yeah, I do think when I was in college or when I worked at Jerry Springer, there were years of me not sharing everything with him. And the more people ask those kinds of questions, the more I think I've shared a little bit more that he didn't know. And I think he's also let on to the fact that he knew more that he didn't let me know. So that's
Nice.
kind of interesting. And we've also talked about subjects now, just from guests pitching themselves to be on my show, that we never would have probably had conversations around. Like I had never talked to my dad about abortion or sperm donation or even addiction or, these types of things. But everybody knows somebody going through those things. And my dad's perspective on some of those subjects have, I feel like, even changed. Like, especially the one around abortion, because Connie Polk, who I interviewed, he met in person and they had a whole conversation before he even really knew her story. And then after he heard her story and was like, oh my God, she's so accomplished and she's such a sweet person. And, you know, she's a hardworking entrepreneur, an employee, and mother. And he didn't know that she had gone through that. And he was like, wow. That
Wow.
made him stop in his tracks. He was like, maybe, you know, people's circumstances need to be considered individually. And just to hear him have like a moment of pause, a moment of realization, and seeing someone differently, that was really cool.
Wow. I love it. I really love it. Like after all these years, you know, you could still find those moments that you see new things in the relationship. No, it's amazing. That means the relationship is always, you know, in growth state. So that's beautiful.
And I
I
do
always,
think people's perspectives of different subject matters, the more they're exposed to real people and they feel people's emotions and they feel connected to individuals. Yeah, like that's so interesting.
it's interesting, but I'm not sure. Well, I would love to hear what do you think about that. You're like you're sharing over here with your dad all these things and looking at different subjects from different perspectives when you grew up. Do you think each person, because I'm putting now your dad in the support, you know, in the support place.
Yeah.
Do you think that, like, again, it sounds from you that, you know, the relationship is open and you're learning new things from each other and new perspectives and seeing new things. Do you think each person that puts a different human being uh, in that support place should they be like that open with the people that they decide to put there? Because it sounds like you have pretty open relationship, pretty open and
There has to be a lot of trust there. And if you're not family, I don't know, you could be written off if you say the wrong thing. People are so sensitive today that you have to be careful with how you express your thoughts and feelings. It has to be in a more inquisitive way versus like a, this is what I believe kind of way. Even I talked to somebody yesterday about DEI, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. And when I was interviewing her, because I knew it was something she felt very strongly and passionately about, I had to ask her questions in a way almost of ignorance versus expressing my opinions around the subject. More like,
yeah,
what was her experience with racism? What has her experience been like in the workplace? Right?
yeah. Oh, interesting. It sounds that, you know, from what you're saying now and from what you're saying about your dad, basically approach each relationship like with these maybe certain tools of, you know, no judgment, authenticity, just be yourself. But then it varies from each person that goes and there might be a few people in that support place. And from what you're saying right now is basically first have that trust with them, and then also then each person you'll create that different relationship based on those core values that we mentioned. But we need to understand that each person will be different. So not necessarily what the way you relate to your dad will be also the way you relate to other people you interview. So
Right.
really
You're saying
appreciate.
that it can cause a ripple effect into the world. Like imagine if each person really had, and if you don't have it, like we went back to, but imagine if each person, when they're feeling so down and out, or when they're having imposter syndrome, or when they're questioning themselves, if they had somebody to say, I believe in you, you can have that thing, you can do that thing.
That's so
Maybe you need
important.
to write that in your damn journal if you don't have that. But imagine a world where everyone felt like they could go after their dreams, or that they didn't have to tolerate something that wasn't meant for them. I saw this quote yesterday, like, if you don't enjoy doing something for one day, then why are you doing it for the rest of your damn life? Right? Like, imagine if you had somebody that was like, you're better than that. Like, you've proved yourself. Time for the next level. Move on.
For sure.
Or that person has already shown you that they're not a good person. How many times do you need to see that? 15 times, or are you going to walk? Like, imagine if you had somebody that like literally was that voice of like, life is short, go after it.
That could be like, you know, better than all of the medicine and all of the pills. Having someone that the word that you said, giving you the believe in yourself, you know, just snap that part. That's everything. Because when you believe in yourself, when you have that relationship, whether it's your dad or someone else in that space, that gives you that belief, you could create so more. And you said, if people just pursue what they can achieve, like each one has so much potential. I really believe, like we all have gold in us, but sometimes, not sometimes, where is the gold? It's under the ground. So we need to dig. And a lot of times we don't believe in ourselves, so we don't even start that digging. And when we have that person, like you said, like whether it's your dad or someone else that gives us that belief to push forward, to go towards our dreams, I think the world will be like a total different place because people will, it's like a whole different world. So I really think that's so important to have that person that gives us the belief. So I really appreciate you emphasizing that. And I would like to know where can people, because we're also going to hopefully also people in the YouTube will listen and want to listen to this again and get those great points that you gave. But if they want even more points of like listening more to your conversations with people, learn more about relationships, where are the best place that they can find you?
BetterCallDaddy.com has all of the places that you can find my podcast and my social media, Reena Friedman Watts on Facebook or LinkedIn. And I'm also on Twitter at Reena, and I'm starting to build up a little bit of, more interaction there where I'm participating in some of the Twitter audio spaces and I'm putting different thoughts there than I put on other platforms. I actually love when people cross follow me on different platforms because I feel like I try to show up differently according to the platform, right? Like Twitter's 140 characters. So I'm putting little tidbits there, and my podcast is long form, and my Facebook, I have a Facebook group that's free called Business Laughs and LinkedIn, where I bounce different ideas off of people and I follow up with the guests who have been on my show. Like, I don't try to spam you. I'm not going to send you, emails or newsletters or anything like that. It's just a place where we can all gather and we can all participate and share our opinions. And every Friday, I even put promote anything, talk to me about what you're working on. Talk to me about how I can help you. So yeah, find me on Facebook, find me on bettercalldaddy.com, and let me
Reena,
know what you're working on and how I can support you.
amazing. So much value that you put out there. Do you have 24 hours in the day, or do you have more than that? Because with all these things that you do, it sounds like you're a mom, kids, husband, and then doing all of these other things. It's wow, amazing, and I really love all the value that you give to people. It's really beautiful. So thank you very much for that, and also for all the great, nuggets of gold that you gave us today. And I'm sure I can learn from it, and other people could. So really, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. You're an amazing host. I really appreciate how you were able to like summarize things that I said and add on to it. You kept the conversation going. Amazing job. I'm so glad that we connected through Angela. Hey,
And
IG Live with
Angela, go Angela. We love Angela. Angela's amazing.
and
So
Joe. I see Joe Bermedia. And Stacy Love Style. Sammy, I have connected with all of these people, a lot of them through Angela, a lot of them through LinkedIn. And like I said, when people follow you from platform to platform, know who your people are and go like their stuff too. Support them. Like as soon as somebody supports my stuff, I go see what they recently posted and how I can support them back. That's what it's about. Relationship building and knowing who your people are and being a cheerleader for others. Literally, it can just be one positive message. That's it. And it makes such a difference. Just be like, I see you. I recognize the effort that you're putting out there and the positive vibes that you're reverberating into the world. Keep going. That's it.
oh, that's such a beautiful message, to end with the support, be there to support, because just expecting other people to be there for us, but we won't be there for them. So we could, this it won't grow too much, maybe just for a little bit. So I love it that you just gave us another golden nugget. I think it's out more than that. Now we just need to practice it. So I really, really appreciate it, and thank you very much, Reena. Of course, if you ever come to this area, we'll be more than happy to meet for a coffee.
Oh, I'd love it.
For sure,
Thank you.
100%.
Yeah,
Okay,
Aaron,
thank
it's
you.
been a total pleasure. Thank you.
Also for me. Have a great morning, afternoon over there.
To be continued. Have a good one.
For sure. Bye bye.
I hope you enjoyed the video and got some tools to overcome your challenges and light your path. If you haven't yet, please smash that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget, the most amazing things in life are the ones you take for granted.